Hello and welcome to our discussions on PERT and CPM. Now, up till this point, we have seen how to construct a network, how dummies are dealt with, how slacks and floats are calculated, what are the roles played by slacks, various slacks, head slack and tail slack, what are the roles played by various floats, roles played in sense of giving information. We saw total float, free float and independent float. Now we are advancing on to crashing of a network, crashing of a PERT network. Now, what do we mean by crashing? Crashing is the idea of reducing the duration of an activity. If an activity is being done in 10 days, say I wish to complete it in 7 days. Now, if you wish to speed up an activity of 10 days and try to finish it in 7 days, obviously it will require some more resources. Suppose if one person was able to complete it in 10 days, you wish to complete it in 5 days, you'll have to employ 2 persons. Now, the idea is that the work was worth 10 man days. 1 man in 10 days. This was the idea. Now, if you wish that the work should be done in 5 days, what am I trying to do is, I am trying to crash this activity. I am trying to speed this activity up. Instead of 10 days, I say that you should finish it in 5 days. Now, what happens when you say that instead of 10 days, you need to finish it in 5 days? You'll need additional manpower. How many? You'll need 2 men. The work was worth 10 man days. The work was worth 10 man days. Now also still it is 10 man days. But now instead of 1 man doing it for 10 days, I am employing 2 persons. So yes, per day cost has gone up. On the very first day, I was making a payment for 1 person. Now I will be making a payment for 2 people. I have employed 2 men. So whenever you try to squeeze an activity, you need additional resources. Let us take another example. You ask an enumerator to go out and collect responses, and you leave him in the market that go and collect 100 responses. Now, in order to collect 100 responses, it will take him, let's say, 2 days, 50 responses per day. Now, you want that these 100 responses should be completed today itself. So, what you will do is, you will ask him to hire a cab. Instead of going through city buses, local transportation, you ask him to hire a cab so that his transportation time is reduced. So, what is happening? A person could have done that task in 2 days, collected your 100 responses in 2 days, but because you want to complete it in 1 day, you are giving him additional money, you are giving him additional resources. While he was traveling on foot or traveling through public transportation, now you have asked him to travel through a hired cab. So yes, the responses will be collected in 1 day, but it will cost him more, it will cost us more. So that is one idea, that whenever you try to speed an activity up, whenever you try to finish a task fast, early, it costs you resources. Even while driving, you can see, if you are driving at a economy range of 60 to 80, if you are driving a car at economy range of 60 to 80, it will consume less petrol, less diesel, less gas. But if you try to cover the distance at a higher speed, maybe at a speed of 120, 130, 150, it will consume more petrol. So yes, the time will be reduced, but more resources will be consumed. If your journey was being completed in 20 liters of diesel, now it might consume you 25 or 30 liters of diesel, because you are running at a higher speed, because you are trying to crash the time, because you are trying to compress the time. So this is the idea of crashing. Crashing. That whenever you crashing of a network, whenever you try to crash an activity, whenever you try to reduce the time of an activity, time consumed by an activity, you need to pump in additional resources. You need to allow that enumerator, research enumerator, a cab. You need to burn more fuel. at higher speeds. You need to employ more men if you want to complete your task in less days. Yes, in a sense, we can say that the costs go up. But what are these costs? These costs are direct costs. Direct costs go up. Whenever you try to crash a network, your direct costs will go up. But then there is an indirect cost also associated with it. What is that indirect cost? Suppose we have a manager A and he recruits teams B, C and D. These are teams. This is manager. Now manager A recruits teams B, C and D. If we ask these teams, all of these teams are capable of performing their task for a task in 4 days. 4 days, 4 days and 4 days. All these teams will be performing their task in 4 days. So how many days is manager engaged for? 4 days. He is a manager who is managing this team. This team will be engaged for 4 days for its task, 4 days, 4 days. So the manager is also engaged for 4 days. Now, the important question. For this team, for team B, I'll have to put in additional resources. Direct cost will go up. Why is the direct cost going up? Because I'm asking them to hire a cab. Instead of moving through public transportation, I'm asking them to travel through a cab. So yes, costs are going up. Then when you talk of C, direct costs will go up because you need to pump in more money. While they were waiting in the line to get their printouts, I've asked them, you buy or purchase your own printer. So yes, direct costs have gone up. In D, again direct costs will go up because you are trying to reduce these 4 days to 2 days. Yes, these 4 days will be reduced to 2 days, but my direct costs will go up. What are the direct costs? Payments made to B, C and D. But one important thing, while I'm making a payment to these people, this task is also coming down to 2 days. The time manager is engaged for is also reducing. But I am not making a direct payment to A for this reduction in time. I am making a payment to B, C and D, but duration of A is getting reduced by itself. I am not making any kind of payment to A to speed its task up. I am making a payment to B, C and D to speed their tasks up. I am not making any payment to A. So, the costs associated with this are indirect cost. Why are they indirect? Because I am not making a direct payment to A for the job he is doing. I am making a payment to A for the time B, C and D are consuming. In that sense, it is an indirect payment. So, it is an indirect cost. Now, these costs are going up, direct payments. Instead of local transportation, you should hire a cab. Instead of waiting in a queue for printouts, you buy a printer. And then this could be, instead of recruiting one person, you recruit 2. So yes, these costs are going up. But then the manager is engaged for lesser days and his cost is actually coming down. So the indirect cost always goes up while, direct cost always goes up while indirect cost always comes down. Imagine a scenario where we have some 20-25 people working at a site, at a construction site. 20-25 people are engaged for construction at a construction site. Now we wish to, they can complete the task in, let's say 30 days. Now I wish to speed that thing up. Instead of 30 days, I ask them to work overtime and let us complete the task in 25 days. Now, as soon as you ask them to work overtime, you'll have to pay more. If I was paying 100 rupees per worker, per labor, now I might have to pay 130 or 140. Clear? I have a construction site, some 25 people are employed over there, it is a 30-day task. They'll be working there for 30 days. I ask them to speed their task up. I ask them for overtime, doing overtime. Now, if they'll do overtime, what happens is, First thing is, I'll have to pay them more because they are doing overtime. But instead of 30 days, now the task will be finished in 25 days. So this is a direct cost. This will go up. But then there is an indirect cost also. What is that indirect cost? Earlier I was paying for DA for 30 days. Now I will be paying that DA only for 25 days. Earlier I was arranging food for them for 30 days. 3 meals a day for 30 days. Now I will be arranging that food only for 25 days. So what is happening? Certain direct costs are going up, but then there are indirect costs associated which are actually coming down. Food, cost of rent, cost of food. Now instead of 30 days, you need to take care of them for only 25 days. So 5 days food is saving, 5 days rent is saving. When these people will complete their task in 2 days instead of 4 days, they can come back home. If they'll come back home, the amount you were paying for their hotel rent, for their meals that they were consuming in hotels, that is cut. Instead of 4 days, now I'll be paying for 2 days. So this is indirect cost. So when you are trying to crash a network, there are certain direct costs involved in it. There are certain indirect costs involved in it. Direct costs always rise, indirect costs always come down. Yes, there might be a situation where indirect cost may not come down, but that we'll see. In due course of time, when we are taking numericals, we'll see that direct cost may go up, but indirect cost may not come down. That we'll see, that we'll wait and see. But the idea is, broadly, the nature of direct cost is to go up and indirect cost is to come down. This is the broad idea about direct cost and indirect cost. Direct cost is the payment made for a service, the payment made to a research enumerator, payment made to your labor. That is direct cost. Indirect cost is because the complete setup is engaged for 20 days, 30 days, there are certain costs. Cost for calling for those water suppliers. They bring you and give those campers water stocks, water bottles. Now they are coming and supplying you water bottles and you are paying 500 rupees each day because you have to maintain water supply for everybody working over there. So that expense, that additional expense of 500 rupees will be cut by 5 days. Because you were there for 30 days, you had to make a payment for 30 days, but now because you are completing your task in 25 days, that 5 days worth of water is saved. That is 2500 rupees are saved. That is an indirect cost. That was not being paid for work. That was not being paid for project. The payment being made for project was to the labor. The payment being made for the project was to the printing machine. But the person who was waiting over there in the queue, payment was not being made for that waiting time. So those costs are indirect costs. Direct costs are which are made for completion of project. So that is the idea of direct cost and indirect cost in crashing of a network. Whenever you are trying to crash a network, you will incur two types of costs. One will be direct cost and the other one would be indirect cost. Direct cost has a tendency to go up while indirect cost comes down. Fine. So we'll take up an example and then with help of that example, we'll try to understand what is the idea of crashing, what are these direct and indirect costs, how do they play out. We'll see with the help of an example. So I'll put up that example over here and then we'll advance with it. So this is the network. Now if we connect it to our past networks, which we have practiced in our earlier videos, lectures, there used to be only these two columns. First column is activity relationship, second is duration. These are additional columns that we are seeing this time. Why are these additional columns? What are these additional columns? First thing is, this is an activity column that will give us the activity relationship, the precedence relationship, like we have an activity 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5 and so on. So if we wish, we can prepare the network over here. We have a 1, 2 and then there is a 1, 3, 1, 2, then there is 1, 3, 1 going to 2, 1 going to 3. Then there is 2, 4 and 2, 5. We have a 2, 4, 2, 4, then there is a 2, 5, then there is a 3, 4 also. So what I'll do is I'll make this thing as 5. If you are not able to connect what I'm doing, you can check out our earlier videos. So we have a 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 3, 4 done. Then there is a 3, 7. If you are not able to connect what I'm doing, you can check out the earlier videos also. 4, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6. 4, 6, 5, 6 and 7, 6. So this is the network. These are the activities. We have precedence relationships. This is the network. Then these used to be the durations. I'll make use of some other color for these durations. These durations used to be put like this. 8, 6, 9. We had an 8. There would be a 6. There would be a 9. 7. 6. 4. Then 4, 6 would be a 7, 6 and 6. Let me make some corrections in this 4 and 6. 3, 4 is 6, 3, 7 is 4. So we have this network for these given set of precedence relationships. We have a 1, 2 and 1, 3. The project starts at 1, proceeds to 2, 1 to 3. Then we have 2, 4 and 2, 5, 2, 4 and 2, 5. Then there is a 3, 4, 3, 4 and 3, 7. Then there is a 4, 6, 5, 6 and 7, 6. This is the network. This is the information that we used to deal with in our past questions. Now we have 3 new columns this time. If we have a look at these, what are these activities? Then this is the normal duration. Normal duration is the normal duration in which the work can be done. But this time we are studying crashing. So this activity, that is 1, 2, activity 1, 2, which is being done in 8 days, can be done in 5 days also. If you speed up if you pump in more resources, you can speed up the activity and you can finish the task of 8 days in 5 days. This is what we mean by crashing. This is what this duration is, crashed duration. Normal duration is 8, but if you go for crashing, you can bring it down, you can crash it up to 5 days. Similarly, if we talk of 1, 3, normally it can be done in 6 days. Even if you try to crash it, you cannot further reduce the duration. So it will still remain of 6 days itself. What about 2, 4? We have activity 2, 4, it is being done in 9 days. But if you try to crash it, if you pump in some more resources, it can be done in 5 days. It has a potential of finishing the task in 5 days. So this is the idea. Then what are these 2 columns? We are through with this column and this column. This is our activity precedence, this is normal duration, and this is the possible crashed duration. Then we have 2 more columns. This is normal cost. Normal cost is if a person is left at a place that you go out and collect 50 responses, the normal cost that he will incur in commuting through public transportation, his food expenses, his stay expenses, that is normal cost. But if you try to, if you ask him to speed the task up, then he'll consume more resources. Instead of moving through public transportation, he'll move through a cab. So 9 days will come down to 5 days, but then it will cost you more. Instead of 80 rupees, it will actually cost you 60 rupees. So when you try to speed an activity up, it costs you more. Same is with fuel. If you move at a higher speed, the time will be reduced, but fuel consumption will increase. That is the idea. So what is this column? This column is what is the payment that what is the direct payment? What is the direct payment that I need to make to perform task 1, 2? Direct payment. For 8 days, I'll make a payment of 65. You have an agreement. At 3, 4, for 6 days, I'll make a payment of 80 rupees. That is the agreement. So, these are the direct payments, direct normal costs, when things are being done at a normal speed, at a normal pace. But if you try to speed them up, they can be done in these duration, and then they'll cost you more. So, these are crashed costs. These are the advanced costs, exaggerated costs, increased costs. Let us take this one. 2.5 is being done in 7 days, but it can be done in 4 days. Right now it costs me only 80 rupees, but if I try to speed it up to 4 days, it will cost me 200 rupees. This is the idea of all these columns. So, I believe now we have an understanding of what these columns are representing. Fine. So, can I bring all this information over here itself? Like 1, 2 is taking 8 days. If you try to crash it, it will be done in 5 days. So, now can I interpret, can I understand what does this 1, 2, 8, 5 mean? 1, 2 is my activity. Normally it is being done in 8 days, but if you try to crash it down, you can bring it down to 5 days. Similarly, what happens to 1, 3? 6, 6. Then you have 2, 4, 9, 5. Then we have 2, 5, 7, 4. Then there is 3, 4, 6, 6. 3, 4 is 6, 6. Then there is 3, 7, 4, 4. 4, 6 is 7, 5. Then we have a 6, 4, 6, 4. So, this time my network is also containing some additional information. Normal duration, crash duration, normal duration, crash duration, normal duration, crash duration. This is being done in 7 days, it can be done in 5 days. This is being done in 7 days, can be done in 4 days. This is being done in 6 days and can be done in 6 days. So, these are certain activities which cannot be crashed. 1, 3, 3, 4, 3, 7, these cannot be crashed because they are being done in optimum duration as it is. 6, 6, 6, 6. But these can be crashed. 9 can be brought down to 5, 6 can be brought down to 4. So, this is the idea of first column, second column, fourth column. What about third and fifth? Normal cost and crashed cost. Now, let us zoom into the problem and consider 1, 2. We have 1, 2 which is being done in 8 days, can be done in 5 days. Now, for 8 days I am making a payment of 65 rupees. For 5 days I will be making a payment of 200 rupees. So, task is being done in 8 days, it can be done in 5 days. It is not at all compulsory that 8 should be brought down to 5. Maybe I do not have that much resources, maybe I do not have that much money. So, what I will do is, I will try to explore, okay, 8 days is 65 rupees, 5 days is 200, this is given. What about 7 days? What about 6 days? What if I ask the team that please speed your task up to be finished in 7 days? What if I ask the team to finish it in 6 days? Okay, if I ask for 5 days, I know the cost. What about 7 and 6 days? Here we have the concept of cost slope. What is cost slope? Change in cost upon change in duration. In this case, if I see change in cost 265, 200 minus 65. This is the change in cost. Remember, we are talking of change. We are not saying first minus second, normal minus crash, crash minus normal, nothing. Change. Change in cost is 200 minus 65. What is the change in duration? 8 minus 5. So, it becomes 135 upon making it 45 per day. This is cost slope. What is cost slope? How much amount do I need to make? What kind of payment do I need to make to crash the activity by one day? 865, 5200, very well given. But what if I try to crash it by only one day? What if I try to crash it by only 2 days? In that case, now I have my cost slope. What is it? 45. So, whenever you ask a team to speed the task up, and whenever you ask a team that instead of 8 days, please finish your task in 7 days, you need to make an additional payment, and that additional payment will be 45 days. Right now, I am making a payment of 65. If I try to ask them that please finish your task in 7 days, I need to make a payment, additional payment of 45. So, it will become 110. If I try to speed the task up from 8 days to 6 days, it is 2 days. 1 day is 45 per day. 45 per day. So, for 2 days, it will be 90 rupees. 65 plus 90, making it 155. And if you further wish to speed it up from 8 to 5, how many days? 3 days. 3 days multiplied by 45, making it 135. So, in addition to this 65, I need to make a payment of plus 135, bringing it to 200. This is how it works. So, the extremes are given to us, 8 days and 5 days. But what about 1 day? What about 7 days? What about 6 days? Those 6 days, 7 days can be determined from cost slope. So, we have another column. This is a column that we will be constructing. All this detail will be given in the question itself. Either the network will be given or the precedence relationships will be given, and all this information will definitely be given in the question problem. First thing that I am determining is cost slope. What is cost slope? Change in cost upon change in duration. For example, we checked about 1, 2. 200 minus 65 upon 8 minus 5. 200 minus 65 upon 8 minus 5. So, what about this? 100 minus 100, 0. There is no cost slope because no crashing is possible. Obviously, what is cost slope? Cost slope is the additional payment made per day for speeding up a task. Additional payment made per day for speeding up a task. Here, no speeding up is possible, so there is no cost slope. What about this? 160 minus 80. 80. 160 minus 80 would be 80, and days are 9 minus 5, that is 4. So, cost slope would be 20. Here we can say 200 minus 80 would be 120. 7 minus 4 is 3. Cost slope comes out 40. Here 6 and 6, no crashing is possible. 4 and 4, no crashing is possible. 7 and 5, crashing of 2 days is possible. 280, 120. It costs me 60 rupees. 6 and 4 for 40 rupees. 40 upon 2, making it 20. 60 upon 2, making it 30. So, now I have my cost slopes also. So, what are these cost slopes? These are additional payments made for speeding up the activity by 1 day. If you try to reduce 1 day, this is the amount that you need to pay. Let me put these cost slopes also here so that we have everything concentrated in this picture itself. Decision making becomes easy if everything is written in this picture itself. So, what do we have? We have a cost slope of 45. These activities will not have any cost slope because they have no scope for improvement, no scope for speeding it up. 2-4 has a cost slope of 20. 2-5 has a cost slope of 40. Then there is 3-4, 3-7 gone. 4-6 has a cost slope of 60, 20 and 30. These are the cost slopes. So, now I have all information about this network here itself. We have the precedence relationships, we have the normal duration, we have the crash duration, and we have the additional amount of payment that I need to make to bring this 8 down to 5. And yes, this is per day. So, if you are bringing it down to 5, you need to make a payment for 3 days, that is 135. From 7, you can bring it down to 4. You are crashing it by 3 days, you need to make a payment of 3 multiplied by 4, that is 120. This is the idea of all these figures, this is the idea of all these. numbers 8, 5, 45, 1, 2, all these numbers. So this is the idea how the information put up in crashing network, a network that is being readied for crashing differs. Earlier we used to have only 8, 6, 6, 7, 6, 7, but now I have this 8 against 5, then there is a 45, this is the network. Now when we talk of crashing, there are two ideas of crashing are possible. One is minimum cost, another one is minimum duration. You can crash a network for minimum cost, you can crash a network for minimum duration. Yes, minimum cost method is also known as optimum duration. Remember, it is not minimum duration, rather it is optimum duration. Minimum duration would be what is the fastest that I can finish the task. Resources are not a constraint. I have a lot of money, I have a lot of resources. You just need to finish it fast. That is minimum duration. This is minimum cost. Minimum cost is we try to reduce the cost. How can we reduce the cost? We saw that direct cost goes up, indirect cost comes down. Indirect cost is always reduced. Indirect cost is the rent, indirect cost is the food. If your team will be freed in 5 days instead of 7 days, 2 days worth of rent is saved, 2 days worth of food is saved. So that is the idea of direct cost and indirect cost. What we do in minimum cost is we compare direct and indirect. If indirect saving is more, then what is happening? That you are saving more than spending. The amount that you will be saving on rent and food will be more than the amount you will be paying for direct expense to the team. The amount that you will be paying for them to move through a cab, the amount that you will be paying for an additional person, the amount you will be paying for getting private printouts instead of standing in a queue. That is the amount of direct cost. Indirect cost is rent, food. So if the savings are more than spendings, then it is a good proposition. That is the idea of minimum cost. Yes, minimum cost is also known as optimum duration. Why are we calling it optimum duration? A task is being done in 8 days. Minimum it can be done in 5 days. But when you try to do it in 5 days, it costs you very high. So you strike a deal that I'll try 7, I'll try 6, and then you feel that 6 is a correct point. That cost is also coming down and duration is also coming down. So that is the idea of minimum cost or optimum duration. That we try to reduce the cost, we try to reduce the duration, and we stop at a point where both are minimized. Duration is minimized in sense of cost. It is not minimum, it is optimum. Minimum duration is this. So there are two basic philosophies to crash a network. First is minimum cost, second is minimum duration. So this was an introduction to crashing of a PERT-CPM network. What is crashing? Crashing is speeding an activity up. If I speed an activity up, obviously my project also speeds up. If all my activities are crashed, my project will also finish up fast. Instead of taking 10 days, 20 days, 40 days, it will take 7 days, 15 days, 25 days and so on. Fine, so this is the idea of crashing. Now, when we meet next time, we will solve this very same question using minimum cost method, using minimum duration method. So this was it for our opening lecture on crashing of a PERT network. Next time when we meet, we will crash it using minimum cost duration. Next time in the lectures to come, we will crash this very same network using minimum duration method. Both methods have different philosophies, so we will keep them separate. And this was it for our today's discussion. Until we meet next time, do take care. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.